Okay, I'm here with Arlene Blencowe, fighting Pam Sorenson this Friday, Bellator 271. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you? Good to chat with you again.
Oh yeah, it's good to chat with you as well. Obviously we're early in fight week at this point, so just give us the picture of how these next few days are going to look for you.
Next few days, a whole lot of drinking water at the moment. I just finished my photo shoot with the very talented Lucas, the Bellator photographer. But yeah, just interviews. Yeah, couple of runs, light training sessions, drinking water, just getting in the mental place. Heading outside, getting a bit of sunlight, sitting around the pool, relaxing, and then come Friday, get into the zone and get to work.
You mentioned obviously runs, sitting by the pool. Have you noticed a bit more freedom now since the last time you fought?
Sorry, my service must have just cut out. Did you say have I noticed any more freedom?
Yeah, because obviously you were still under heavy COVID restrictions back then.
Yeah.
Is it a bit
No,
looser for you now?
no, actually, we had our rules meeting this morning. Bellator, even though we're fighting in Miami and the COVID protocols and safety measures here
Yeah.
in this
Florida is Florida.
state. Sorry.
Florida is Florida.
Yeah. So, but Bellator have still got their strict protocols to keep everyone here, the Bellator staff safe and all the fighters safe, and obviously to make sure that the fights all go ahead. Obviously COVID's still around; it hasn't just disappeared. So, we're still in a fight sphere here, so it's not like I can head off to the beach and enjoy Miami on fight week, unfortunately. We're sort of stuck here where we're staying, which is fine. There's a pool. I've actually halfway through a really, really good book that I started yesterday on my flight here from Albuquerque. So yeah, I like I said in my last story, like this isn't my first rodeo. I've been here. So I've just put myself through a super grueling 8-week fight camp. So it's just time for the next few days just to relax and, unwind a little bit and then, let my body rest. So on Friday night, I'm ready to go.
Is this your first time down in Miami, or have you been before?
No, this is the first time. And that's why I was sort of like a little bit bummed that like normally Monday and Tuesday of the fight week, I can sort of, before COVID was here, I'd use the Monday and Tuesday sort of just to explore wherever I am in America. Obviously coming the whole way from Australia, I like to try and do as many touristy things as I can. But the last few times because of COVID, we've had to stay in the casino and whatnot. And then I've chosen to spend the next week wherever we are. So last time was Connecticut. We went down to New York, spent some days there. But this is the first time I've been to Miami, and it's sort of bittersweet because I'm actually not going to see any of it because Saturday, the day after the fight, I'm flying straight home to Australia. But I mean, I haven't been home for 6 months, so I'm actually really, really excited about that. So giving up the opportunity to see Miami, but I'm sure I'll be back here in the future and I can do that later on down the track.
At least if you're not going to get the hot weather in Miami, you're going to go back to an Australian summer. So it can't be that bad, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I'm so excited to get home. Like I said, it's been 6 months. So, my original 6-week trip here to America for a fight camp for my last fights turned into 6 months. So, we've come to the end of it now. So Friday night, I'll go get the job done, fly home on Saturday and spend some much needed quality time with my family and catch up with my friends.
So obviously, how has that been for you? Because obviously we've had a lot of fighters from Australia and New Zealand go over to the US and fight during the pandemic, but you've basically relocated there alone without your family. How tough has that been?
It has been tough. Definitely. There's been times there that, especially a lot of times on a Sunday that I'll be scrolling through my photos and I get upset. Like, I mean, it's been a big thing, even me originally choosing to come over here and be away from my family, for such a long time to do a fight camp. But, I'm one of those people that make the most of any situation. And as I said to one of my teammates the other day, like I've been a mother now for 20 years. So, this is the first time in 20 years I've been entirely selfish towards something that, which is my fight career. So, and the amount that I've grown, as a fighter for the last 6 months, training at Jackson Wink, being there, but even also just as an individual too. Like, I've really stepped away from that motherly role. Like my kids have been at home, they've been with my partner and then their dad and their stepmom, and they've really taken the reins for me and looked after all that because there's not much you can do from all the way over here in America. But yeah, I've really focused on my fight career and made the most of the opportunities I've been given here. And to be honest, I've really seen like my hard work pay off. And as I said before, I can't wait to showcase it again on Friday night.
Obviously, for someone who's as experienced as you, been through boxing, MMA, it's good to get out of your comfort zone a little bit, isn't it?
Oh, for sure. You know, coming over to Jackson Wink back in May was very much out of my comfort zone. But yeah, and again, you know, after I lost my fight with Cris last year, I went back to the drawing board and I decided that I wanted to have one more run at the Bellator world title, and, you know, and not leave any stone unturned, which meant, you know, coming over here and giving it 100%, 150%, 200%, you know, and being a full-time athlete. You know, back at home, I'm juggling family and home life, you know, work, training, this and that. So, you know, my attention split all different ways throughout the day. Whereas the last 6 months, I've solely focused on being a professional athlete, like enough time to recover between sessions, enough time to do my recovery sessions, more focus in my training time. I'm not rushed. So yeah, like I said, I've really noticed a difference, and I can't wait to showcase it all.
You mentioned one last push, basically. This isn't the kind of thing you'd want to hear, but how many fights do you see yourself having?
Don't worry, I get it, especially from my mum. I called my mum after my last fight and I'm like, hey, because she doesn't watch my fights. She's only watched a couple of live boxing fights and that was enough for her. So she definitely doesn't watch MMA. But all the highlights she'll watch if she knows I've won and I'm not injured.
Yeah, it's a bit easier afterwards.
Yeah. I called her and I was like, hey, Mum, I won my fight. And obviously she congratulated me and told me that she'd prayed for me and this and that. And then she's like, so when are you going to retire? And I was like, Mum, that's not something that you asked me after I won a fight. Like, but you know what? Yeah, I'm not putting a time limit on it at all, because you know what? Like, even spending these last 6 months training alongside Holly, who's just had her 40th birthday, she just does not look, well, I don't even know what 40 is supposed to look like anymore, because that girl is an absolute machine. And, you know, I was sort of coming over here at the beginning of the year going, oh, maybe I am getting a bit older and this and that. But since being in Albuquerque, I'm thinking there is no limit to, you know, what I'm doing. So at the moment, while I'm feeling as good as I am and performing, like, yeah, I'm not putting a limit on it. So when I did say one more run at the title, like, I'm sort of meaning that one more run and I'm going to win that title.
Yeah, of course, of course.
So yeah, I just I'm not putting a limit on it. And obviously just recently, like the light heavyweight UFC,
love it.
Yeah, like, I mean, what's he, 43?
42, 43, yeah.
42, yeah. I mean, well, there you go. As soon as that happened, I messaged my partner. I'm like, well, I'm fighting until I'm 50.
Well,
so sorry.
No, go on.
Oh no, I was just, it's kind of like a bit of a running joke in our household with my partner and I, especially if, you know, I've got a couple of little niggly injuries in camp or something, they just seem to just disappear. And he goes, it must be those Filipino genes. I don't know what it is, but I'll go to a physio and he'd be like, oh, you probably can't run, or you can't punch or do something for so many weeks. And fair enough, I'm straight back on the training session, like training mats the next day. And they're all like, I don't know how you do it.
Yeah. I've talked to other fighters and they say it's less about the number than sort of basically how you're feeling. Basically, there are 40-year-olds who feel great and there are 30-year-olds who feel shot, you know what I mean? Yep,
definitely. And you know what, if the passion's still there and you're still hungry for it,
and you're still winning fights as well.
Exactly. So yeah, you're
obviously number one in the division. It's like, that's not the kind of place you want to be thinking about, you know.
Retire. Well, no, especially after I just won my last fight. That's why I was like, Mum, I'm retiring is the last thing on my mind.
So obviously it's been 4 months since that fight, which was a great performance. Just looking back, reflect on that fight a little bit.
Like, I felt like I didn't even get out of first gear. I just sort of cruised through it, which is the complete opposite to what Mr. Jackson had asked me for. So obviously we spoke about that, because he just wanted me to really push the pace and step well and truly out of my comfort zone and just go out there and just give it everything and show everyone, you know, what I've been doing. And I literally just putted through. which is what I was going through my head at the time and how I felt after the fight. But then obviously watching it back, like it wasn't me just putting along at all. It was, it was a pretty neat performance. And obviously
great performance.
As somebody actually mentioned to me the other day, normally stoppages happen early on in the rounds when people are obviously the fittest and the freshest, and the fact that I can pull off a stoppage in the third round and finish it then when most people are sort of like drained of energy. And I was like, well, fitness is never anything that I doubt in the fights. Like I know I push hard, right through to the very end. So there's definitely things that I wish I had done in the fight, but I mean, in the end, a stoppage wins. You can't really complain about that.
So this is the second camp at Jackson's, right? In terms of a full camp, at least.
Yeah.
Yep. So how's that been for you? And has there been any differences since the first time? Now you're more settled in?
For sure, it's my home. The longer I spend there, the more I feel like that's exactly where I need to be. Obviously, first time, like back for my last fight camp, I was adjusting to the altitude, adjusting to jet lag, still getting my bearings. Like, I mean, I'd been to Jackson's a few times, but just still getting a feel for, your training partners, how the training week works, this and that. But going into this fight, I pretty much didn't stop training. So I flew back to Albuquerque straight after that fight and went straight back into training. So as soon as we sort of got the word for this fight, we just obviously not really changed up, but we knew certain tactics that we were working towards, like as a fight game plan for this fight. But I felt like the progressions this fight camp were a lot easier because we'd already been working. Like I was already familiar, doing my pad sessions with Coach Wink, doing my ground sessions with the other coaches, working on solid things. And I'd like to be able to say I'll showcase a whole lot, but I mean, knowing me, it's probably just going to be a stand-up fight again. But I'm really happy with how my progression on the ground and, all my, cage work and everything that's coming along, my confidence in there to be a true mixed martial artist and not just relying on my hands anymore. But I say this and I'll probably just go in there and throw punches, and that's where the fight's going to be. But I think Pam will be a good opponent. She likes to grapple and wrestle and this and that, so hopefully we can make an interesting fight.
So obviously with Pam, it's a second fight in Bellator, but she's obviously coming from Invicta. She was the champion there. What are your just general thoughts on her when you offered that fight?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I saw her call out after her last fight. It was a very respectful call out because she knew that my situation, I was here in America, and it's also a smart call from her too. I mean, I remember when I was down in those lower ranks, you want to be chasing at number one. I mean, what better move, coming over as the former Invicta champion to a new promotion and then fighting and, trying to take that number one spot. But again, I've been here for a long, long time now, and I'm not about to let somebody come in and take away all my years of hard work. But grateful that she's, called me out and signed the contract, because I know that there's a lot of other girls in the division that probably wouldn't have taken the fight and or haven't agreed to fights with me in the past. So anyone that's willing to sign that contract and get in with me, I've got the utmost respect for, and I'm just grateful that we get to fight on Friday night. She's been a veteran, she's fought some big names, she's shared the cage with some big names and done a lot in her career too. So her record doesn't really sort of outline what she's capable of doing. And also when you look at her opponents that she's faced, she's got some experience behind her.
So obviously you're ranked number one. She's ranked number 7. But you mentioned obviously there that doesn't necessarily reflect her and what she's done.
No.
So with that, do you think that a win over Pam is enough to get you in the cage with Cris a second time, or do you think there's a little bit more that needs to be done?
Well, I know that it took me 3 wins to get the shot with Cyborg. So I've said it in other interviews, I'm not a person to jump up and down and say, I deserve this or I deserve that. So, I'll let the Bellator matchmakers decide. Obviously I'm not looking past Friday night. I've got to get that win first and go from there. Obviously, if it's a spectacular win or a super impressive performance, that will obviously steer the matchmakers into thinking that I'll be the next in line. But I know that there's Cats and Ghana. There's a lot of people, wanting that fight to happen between her and Cris. Obviously Julie is not in the picture anymore. So, again, at this stage, I'm happy just to be fighting. You know, if there's somebody else that wants to jump in with me, obviously, if Kat wants to have a fight, and obviously that becomes the #1 contender, you know, I want to stay active. But yeah, for sure, everything I do at the moment is to, you know, get another shot at Cris. But like I said, I'm not the one to decide, and I'm not going to jump up and down and demand anything. I've been given great opportunities by Bellator in the past, and they haven't let me down in the past. So we'll just, whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, obviously you mentioned Kat there. She's someone who's come in, had a couple fights in Bellator, not necessarily against the top names in the division, but she's obviously found herself high ranked. Would you, if they come to you and say, we want you to fight Kat, because we don't really know what Kat's doing at the minute, if they say you're going to fight Kat and then the winner faces Cris, how you feel about that?
Oh, well, I'd do it. I mean, yeah, I mean, if I'm willing to fight Cris, then like I said, I'll fight anyone, and I've never turned down the opportunity to fight anyone. To be honest, I actually thought that this fight was going to be against Kat. And when I got offered the contract against Pam, I was a bit surprised, but again, I'm here to fight. So yeah, I'll get past Friday night, and then whatever happens after that, I'll sign whoever it is that they give me. And as the #1 fighter, I should be willing to do that, because you know, unless if it's not a fight with Cris, then it'll be someone that's obviously ranked below me, and you know, I shouldn't be afraid or worried or scared or anything to fight anybody, which I never have been. So yeah, Friday night first, and then Christmas at home with the family, and then we'll worry about next year.
So we mentioned Jackson's a little while ago, and obviously last time we talked, we mentioned this little group you've got with Holly and Clarissa, all three of you coming from boxing. How good has it been this time? Obviously, all having training camp around the same time. Obviously, Clarissa fought a few weeks ago. Holly was supposed to fight last month, but ended up pulling out. Has that been beneficial? All of you being in a serious camp mode at the same time?
Oh, definitely. It was. It's the first time that I've been around Holly when she's been in a fight camp. So to see what, you know, she does when she's in camp, and just obviously bouncing off her, bouncing off each other. And then Clarissa too, seeing how much she improved. Like, I mean, just remembering what it was like, and it's nice for me to obviously take a few steps back and remember how far I've come in my journey, because you know, seeing what she's going through was exactly what we went through when we started. So you know, she made some massive improvements in her second fight, even though she didn't get the win. You know, a couple of little things she could have done better and this and that, but I mean, it's all a learning game, and she's learning on the fly on the world stage, on a massive promotion with the whole world watching her. You know, as I said to someone else, you know, I got to have a couple of fights on smaller promotions with not many people watching. So not many people at all watching. So, you know, I can't imagine what she's going through. Obviously, she's used to the limelight, though. She's, you know, you don't win 2 gold medals without knowing how to deal with pressure. But, you know, there's also a lot of other great fighters at Jackson Wink. We've got a really good girls group at the moment. So, Kay Leontef, who fights on for Invicta, she's another 145er. She's a great training partner. Obviously, Michelle Waterson's just come back from being overseas from filming, so she's back on the mats training. So just to have that experience around us, and then a few up and coming girls that are Amis at the moment that are making their pro debut shortly. But yeah, a really good girls group, but also really good guys. The guys have pushed me well this training camp. A lot of the wrestling guys that have obviously pushing me on the sparring mats, making sure that my takedown defense is on point. So yeah, no, really good camp. Really appreciated training with everyone there, and you know, fighters from all around the world, and we've all got that common interest and that bond, and yeah, Team Jackson Wink.
So who are some of the guys you've been working with the most, other than obviously the names we've already mentioned?
I've got, there's a few of them. I'm going to feel really bad if I leave anyone out. But there's a lot of 145. So Damon, he's actually fighting, I think, in a week and a half. Rocky actually fought last night and he won. Isaiah's another guy, and Ricardo, did a lot of sparring with them. Obviously, Aaron, I don't really do any of his hard sparring rounds, but we'll partner up in the light drilling before the sparring because that kid punches super hard. And it's funny, like our last sparring sessions, I'm looking across the cage and he's obviously got like guys partnered up with him, and I'm in the other cage, and it's like the guys are literally just getting fed to him because he is punching hard. Who else am I working with? Aaron Mitchell. He's actually got a fight coming up, but yeah. Andrew, yeah, there's heaps of guys, and I'm going to feel really bad that I'm like forgetting anyone, but yeah, everyone that I'm training with, thank you.
You did a little bit of a Q&A on Instagram a little while ago. One of the questions you got asked was about the possibility of going to the UFC after your contract with Bellator. You gave it the thumbs down emoji.
I did.
Expand on that a little bit. Was that a financial thought, or was that just looking at the way the division has panned out in the UFC?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously if I went to the UFC, I've got the opportunity to fight at bantamweight too. Like, I mean, I fought at bantamweight, but at the moment, I've had opportunities in the past. Like, I mean, I was, when the featherweight girls did the Tough House, an opportunity to go over then. I was approached last year to see what I was doing after a contract. So yeah, I know that they have been interested in me, like in the past, but at the moment, yeah, like as I said, I've been with Bellator now for 7 years. Loyalty is a really, really big thing. Bellator have been really, really good to me. You know, I've had 2 title shots. I make good money with the promotion. I'm in well with the ops team. Like they actually care about me as a fighter. So yeah, those sorts of things really mean a lot to me. And as you get older, you realize that like how much those sorts of things do mean to you. So yeah, at this stage, I don't think I've got an interest in going over. Like I'm actually really, really happy here with Bellator. So, and there's enough girls for me to fight, and my goal is to get that Bellator world title. So that's what I want.
Obviously, there's not as much security in the UFC as well because of there's maybe 3 or 4 girls in that division. We just saw Megan Anderson get cut after a title shot. So you never know what's going to happen with that division.
Yeah, well, that's it. I know I'm getting looked after here. There is security here. And yeah, if I want to be fighting until I'm 50, I know that Bellator will keep me on.
Obviously, it's been a bit quiet with Megan Anderson. She's doing some broadcasting with the UFC, I think.
Yep.
But do you think there's the possibility of her? I think we probably talked about this last time, but do you think there's the possibility of her joining the Bellator roster?
Of course. I'm not sure. Like I answered this question a little while ago. I think there's even the possibility of PFL. Like she could be a 155er, but I'm not too sure. Like I haven't reached out. It's none of my business to message her and be like, oh hey, what you doing? She's doing a thing at the moment. She's doing. I mean, she might. I'm not too sure if she is going to be fighting. I'm not too sure. Maybe she's negotiating contracts or whatever, but. Obviously, she comes to Bellator, I welcome her. Like it's another Aussie on the card. We've got Janae Harding already, and like we're friends, and we haven't crossed paths on the Bellator scene. So yeah, I mean, I'm going to always support a fellow Aussie, and wish her all the best in whatever she decides with the future.
Obviously, Janae is someone who's also pretty much relocated to the US at this point as well, right?
She's actually going to be here on Friday night commentating, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Another thing you mentioned in that Q&A. You used to work at Coca-Cola.
Yes.
Talk to me about that. What was that like?
Yeah, good. I used to, I started off working in the store, but I ended up being out on the road doing quality assurance. So that suited me because I'm not a sit at a desk sort of person or sit in the same spot. I like to be off. So that was really cool. And it kind of fitted in with like my lifestyle too, to just be out and about. So, when I was actually writing that today, it surprised me just how much I actually used to do on top of training 2 or 3 times a day as well, like super early mornings, getting up, coaching, training myself, getting back home, getting the kids ready for school, dropping my son off, working, picking him up, mentoring in the afternoon, training myself, dropping him to soccer. Like it was just a logistical nightmare and on a very, very tight schedule. But where there's a will, there's a way, and those sorts of things are a nice reminder of like how far I've sort of come in this last, 10 months and the life that I have now that I appreciate to be able to do.
Is there part of you that misses that, or you're just pretty happy with how things are now?
No, I was even saying, I mean, once upon a time I used to get up at 4:15, and I'd be running by 4:30 a.m. in the morning and then training at 5 a.m. till 6. And then, there is no way I do that now. I don't have to do that, so I don't. I won't.
Yeah, I get it. Obviously, fighting Pam Sorenson this Friday, but the main event, Cris Cyborg and Sinead Kavanagh. Just give me some thoughts on that fight.
Well, I'm a former opponent to both girls, and all I can say is that if those girls stand in the middle of the cage and throw down, it's going to be an entertaining fight for the crowd, because I've been on the receiving end of Sinead's punches, and that girl hits hard, and it's no secret that Cris does. So yeah, if it's a boxing fight in those 4-ounce gloves, it'll be entertaining. But yeah, I think Cris is a bit too well-rounded. She's the complete package. So, obviously if she's in any danger on the feet, she knows where she can take the fight.
Did you see the Bellator card last week in Ireland?
Yeah, I know that she would be, super disappointed that she doesn't get that Irish crowd behind her. It looked like it was phenomenal. And obviously you go to any Irish pub and the crowd's always just crazy there. Whenever they see any, I remember being in New York when Conor McGregor fought Mayweather, and the Irish were going off there. So I cannot imagine how electrifying the crowd was in Dublin on the weekend. So, yeah, it's unfortunate that Sinead doesn't get that, but I'm sure she's going to be super pumped. She was jumping up and down for this fight for some time, saying that she's got what it takes to beat Cris. So, she looks in phenomenal shape. I've seen photos of her. I haven't actually seen her in person yet, but yeah, she looks like she's been doing the hard work. And as you do, you're preparing for a 5-round war with, one of the most feared women on the planet, and it was labeled that for many, many years. So yeah, it'll be interesting.
Was part of the thinking of being on this card, and obviously that's not your decision, that's Bellator's decision, but part of the thinking being, if someone, presumably Sinead, had to drop off for whatever reason, jump in there against Cyborg?
100%. We were ready for a 5-rounder. Yeah. I said that early on, but oh no, I did know. Yeah, I did know pretty early on that that Sinead, and before it was announced, Sinead and Cris were on this card. I didn't actually push to be on this card for that reason. I was actually hoping to be fighting earlier on in October. I just knew that being stuck here in America for all this time, I knew I wanted to fight again before I flew home. So I'm glad to be on this card. I didn't actually get to speak to Cris after our fight last year. I was doing medicals, and then she had, interviews and this and that. So we didn't actually get to speak after the fight. And, I would, like to have a conversation with her and talk to her. It was an honor to share the cage, and great things happened for me after that loss. So, I'm excited to actually be able to sit back and watch her and Sinead fight in person. That's cool.
You haven't seen Cris so far this week, huh?
No, not yet. To be honest, I haven't actually left my room. I went down to do my Bellator check-in and do my photos just before. But I, especially today, because today's my last, I've got had 2 gallons of water to drink. So I've literally just been in my room, reading my book, drinking my water, and going to the toilet fairly regularly.
Okay. It's a question I'm going to ask you every time until it actually happens. Bellator, Australia. Obviously, we've got certain COVID lockdowns at the minute, but how far away do you think that is?
Oh, I don't know. Hopefully soon, because I definitely, I would be super bummed that it came to Australia and I wasn't the person fighting on the card, obviously being the first Australian female. So I hope it happens within my career. Being the first female Australian signed to the card, I definitely want to be that girl. But obviously COVID makes things hard, but I might get in their ear this week and see what they're thinking.
So obviously we've got yourself, Janae, in the women's division, but there isn't, off the top of my head, that many Australian, New Zealand fighters in the male division. Obviously we've got JJ Wilson, but I can't really think of anyone else. Do you think there needs to be a bit more than that for then the demand to come for a Bellator event in Australia?
Yeah, I'm surprised. Obviously, if the card was in Australia, it would open up the avenues for Australians to fill the card. The foreigners be brought over and be a lot of Australian, New Zealand fighters.
That's how it's happened here in England. So
yeah. So it's definitely a conversation that I want to be having with Bellator anyway, for just a little, life after fighting, what I sort of want to be doing with the promotion, and definitely scouting talent in the Southern Hemisphere is something that I want to be doing. Staying pretty active within the MMA scene in Australia and New Zealand, and seeing the up and comers, because, obviously back in the day, everyone used to strive for the UFC, but as Bellator was building, becoming more and more of a brand, a lot of people wanting to fight for these promotions. I guess, me being at Jackson Wink, a lot of the fighters there are Bellator fighters as well, and they're seeing that it's a lot nicer to be fighting for a promotion that respect you and treat you well and give you opportunities before you're somewhat established as a fighter.
Just finally, obviously the fight this Friday night, ideal world, obviously we see a first round knockout, but just how do you see this one going?
Oh man, I'd really like a submission win, to be honest. Yeah, we've been working pretty solid, and it's just even working with my mental coach, I've had the goods with me for a long time, but it's just not backing myself. So yeah, it's something that we've been transitioning a lot on in my sparring rounds and in class and stuff like that. I'm a physically strong girl, and I know what I'm doing. So a submission win would be super cool. A head kick knockout would be pretty cool too. But in saying that, a win's a win. So yeah we'll see.
I want to thank you for the time today, Arlene. Just shout out any sponsors you've got or anything else you want to say, just quickly.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to shout out to both my kids and my partner back home in Australia. I always do, Kayla and Kian. Can't wait to see you. All my sponsors. So I've got some sponsors that have been on board since day one, and more recent ones that have come on board. I appreciate you all. I put a post up today tagging everybody, but we got Muscle Bros, Glass Fencing, Resolute TV, Snatch Activewear, Compliant Clad Victoria, Chatter Paint, Kendra Lust, Gamecoin, Three Kings Finance, Southlands Real Estate, and I really hope that I haven't forgotten anyone, because that would make me the worst person, but I don't think I have. So I appreciate you all. Again, I would not be able to be here for 6 months without obviously the backing of all of you guys. So thank you.
You didn't think you were going to get through that without me picking up on you saying Kendra Lust, right?
Yes. Well, I just had to put my sponsor banner in, and they were like, so what's this one here? And I'm like, well, Kendra, so yeah. So
how long's that been a thing?
This fight camp is the first time that she's been on board as a sponsor, but she's a big fan of the MMA scene. She sponsors a lot of fighters now, and she's at a lot of shows and stuff. So yeah, it's cool that she's using her platform to obviously help up people come up and coming fighters and support people and this and that. So I haven't met her in person, so I'm not too sure. I actually have to send her a message and see if she's coming on Friday night. I'm not sure where she is at the moment.
Yeah, because I've seen different fighters posting her on their stories and things. I've been a bit I'm wondering what's going on here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's like I said, it's super cool that she's using her platform to help build up other people's fan base and supporting something, which is pretty cool.
All right. Shout out where people can find you on social media. It's the Aussie Girl Anger Fist with some underscores, right?
Yep. So yeah, definitely give my page a follow. I'm pretty active on socials. I post a lot of my stories and this and that. I always try and return messages or reply to comments too. So don't be a stranger if you want to give me a shout out or whatever.
All right. Yeah, that's it. Thank you for the time today, Arlene. Best of luck this weekend.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.